Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres podcast YouTube page. I do have one quick favor before we get to the video that you came here for, and that is very simply this. You see that little red subscribe button below this video? Go ahead, smash that subscribe button. It really does help me. It really does help this channel grow and my audience grow. So go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. And now, here is the video that you came here for. So with that said, let's talk about the game itself. And I guess I can't say that we need to switch gears because switching gears is not an accurate depiction of what we're going to do. We were just talking Arkansas A&M. But let's get to the game itself. Texas A&M and Arkansas, great rivalry. They've played a million times. I mean, I think the exact number is, I don't know, something like 80. But they've played a bunch. And this has been a rivalry that has largely been dominated by Texas A&M over the last decade. And so this is a huge game. Both teams come in ranked for the first time in forever, and Arkansas picks up the win. Final score 20-10, and shout out to the Hogs and shout out to Sam Pittman as they pick up, Arkansas does, their first win over Texas A&M since 2011, okay? First win over Texas A&M since before Johnny Manziel had ever played a down of college football at Texas A&M. First win over Texas A&M, how about this? Since Texas A&M actually joined the SEC. And again, final score was 20-10. And what I would tell you is it's hard for me to give like some amazing analysis of this game because the game itself essentially went how I expected. And so let's get into it. And really to explain that, you really have to go back to Friday's show. And what I told you on Friday's show was pretty simple. I said, look, I don't know if Arkansas is going to win. I don't know if A&M is going to blow them out. But what I do believe is that Arkansas, their strength goes against Texas A&M's weakness. And if Arkansas is able to play the way that they did against Texas, they not only have a chance to compete, but they can win this football game. That strength is, of course, the run game. They came into the game ranked 8th nationally running the football. And when you looked at Texas A&M, there were two things that definitively stood out. One, the offense was really struggling. That's not a knock on Zach Calzada, their quarterback. That's not a knock on Jimbo Fisher. He's not overrated. Texas A&M isn't terrible. But they're in a season where they return a ton of skill position talent, but also lost basically their whole offensive line and lost a 4-year starter at quarterback in Kellen Mond. To make things worse, they not only lost their starting quarterback from last year in Kellen Mond, but the guy who won the job, Haynes King, was out for the year. It has limited what they can do offensively. And defensively, while they have elite numbers in certain categories, they actually came in as the number one scoring defense in college football. In other words, nobody had given up fewer points through 3 weeks in college football than Texas A&M. Their biggest weakness was that they can't stop the run. 86th nationally coming into this game against the run. That was coming off of a game against Colorado where they gave up 171 yards rushing, over 200 yards rushing against Kent State. And so I kind of said, like, look, if Arkansas plays the game that they played against Texas, I like the shot that they have. Arkansas runs the ball really well. They're really physical along the line of scrimmage. Texas A&M has some elite athletes, and that's exactly what Arkansas did. They finished the game with 197 yards rushing, 4 yards per carry. And look, obviously they were helped quite a bit by the fact that they had two huge plays early in the game that obviously led to 14 points, which was the difference in the game. Late in the first quarter, Treylon Burks, 85-yard catch from KJ Jefferson. I almost called him Justin Jefferson, from KJ Jefferson. And then A.J. Green, 48-yard touchdown catch from KJ Jefferson early in the second quarter. They pull away. To the defense's credit, they make enough stops late. A&M makes a little bit of a run in the second half. Isaiah Spiller breaks off a big touchdown run. But in the end, Arkansas kicks a field goal. Cam Little nails a big one, and Arkansas ends up winning this game. So ultimately, the game itself did not really go any different than I expected. But here is what I would say my one single takeaway is about this Arkansas football team. Arkansas won this game without playing anything close to their best game. And to me, when you think about who this program is and where they were just 2 or 3 years ago, that is incredible to me. Think about what I just said. Arkansas, a team that 3 years ago, they go 2-10 overall, 0-8 in the SEC. That was 2018 under Chad Morris. 2 years ago, 2019, 0-8 in the SEC. 2-8 before they fired Chad Morris. They finished 2-10 overall. A team that went 4-20 during the 2018 and 2019 seasons. That team just went and played a top 10 team at Jerry World, did not play their best game, and still won in pretty convincing fashion. It is incredible if you think about how far Arkansas has come. And when I talk about the game itself, I think, look, part of why they quote-unquote did not play well, one, they played a really good opponent, right? They did not run the ball on Saturday as well as they traditionally have this season. But part of that is Texas A&M is really, really, really good defensively. But they finished with 197 yards rushing, like I said, 4 yards per carry. But ultimately, Texas A&M, I thought, did actually a pretty good job holding up the run, and they did a good job relative to how I think everybody else will handle Arkansas. We saw Arkansas at their best running the ball against Texas, and I don't think there are many teams, despite what the numbers said, that have the guys up front that are physically equipped to handle Arkansas's running game quite like Texas A&M did. So the fact that Texas A&M, the fact that Arkansas was still able to run for 4 yards a carry, the fact that they were not as effective on the ground and still found a way to win, that's a big deal to me. On top of that, let's also not forget this. Their starting quarterback, KJ Jefferson, got hurt in the middle of the game. He did not play for most of the second half. Malik Hornsby comes in. It is very clear that through no fault of his own, Malik Hornsby is a really young player. Through no fault of his own, Malik Hornsby, freshman, comes in, and they basically don't let him throw the ball. He threw 3 passes, completed 1 pass, but they basically did not let him throw the ball. And so, again, I'm talking about Arkansas here. You talk about a team that we thought had to be elite running the ball. During this game, they were not. They had a backup quarterback for most of this game. Defensively, I thought they actually could have been even a little bit better than they were. Gave up over 5 yards per carry to Texas A&M, including Isaiah Spiller ripping off a big run. As I said, in the third quarter, it was a 67-yard touchdown run. And so I bring it up to say, think about what I just said. Playing a top 10 team, neutral field, team you haven't beat for 10 years, and you don't even play your best game and you still win? Incredible. And it is, as I've said many times, a testament to their head coach, Sam Pittman, who he is, what he's about in the program that he's building. And I talked about Sam Pittman just 2 weeks ago. I don't want to belabor the point, but when you think about where this program was when he took over, I said it a minute ago, 2-10 in 2018, 2-10 in 2019. Fast forward to 2020, last year against an SEC-only schedule, against maybe the toughest regular season schedule in the history of college football. They had to play the entire SEC West on top of Florida, on top of Georgia. Arkansas went 3-7. They were 3-3 at one point. It was a testament to Sam Pittman. But again, even coming into this year, you kind of said, look how tough this league is. How do you match up? And they're 4-0. They're 4-0, which means that 4 wins, 2 wins over ranked opponents. They are now at number 8 in the AP poll. That is as high as they have been since the 2012 season, if I read correctly. It's incredible. It is incredible what this program is doing. It is incredible what this program has done. And you start to look at the schedule. Now they got by Texas A&M, and you start to say, this is where it gets interesting for the Hogs. Now, the schedule is going to get much, much, much tougher, as crazy as it sounds, because they've already beaten 2 ranked teams. But they do play at Georgia this week, and then following that, they have to play Ole Miss the week after that. So you just come off a monster win over Texas A&M. You then have to follow it up at Georgia, at Ole Miss. Then, oh, by the way, no big deal. You go play Auburn, etc. So it's not going to be easy. You obviously still have Alabama late in the year, second to last week of the season. So it is not going to be easy going forward. But I also think you talk about a program that was so down for so long, that now has 2 wins over top 25 opponents. And I think in a worst-case scenario, with the way LSU is playing, with the fact that Auburn really struggled on Saturday against Georgia State, I think they will get there under Brian Harsin. But I don't think they're there yet, and Arkansas gets them at home this year. We could be talking about Arkansas football, a team that just a few years ago was on a 20-game SEC losing streak, or 19-game, 20-game, whatever it was, 18, 19, 20, wherever it was. They lost 16 straight. I know that for a fact in 2018 and 2019. I believe it ended being a 20-game SEC losing streak. This is a team that I think can realistically go 9-3. I mean, depending on what we see from Ole Miss, we still don't really know how good Ole Miss is. I mean, is 10-2 in the cards? I'm not going to pick them to beat Georgia. I'm not going to pick them to beat Alabama. But could they beat Ole Miss? Should they beat LSU with the way LSU's playing? Should they beat Auburn with the way Auburn's playing? I think so. And so we will see. But to think about this football program going and playing Texas A&M, not playing anywhere close to their best game, and still coming out with a win, it's incredible. And I really do think the sky is the limit for this team and this program under Sam Pittman here in year 2.